Hello everyone, welcome to DL Learning Lab. So today we'll be talking about quadratic equations. So first up, quadratic equations always have the form y equals ax plus bx plus c, where a cannot equal to 0. So an example of this is something like y equals 5x squared plus 2x plus 15. All quadratic equations will have a solution. There can be different ways to reach that solution, but they will always have a solution. And the shape of a graphed quadratic is called a parabola. So let's say you're trying to graph y equals 5x squared plus 2x plus 15. It's going to be shaped like a U, and since it is positive, it will be an upward U as shown on the left. And if it was a negative, then it would be a downward U. So the first way to get a solution from a quadratic equation is by factoring. So the way you factor is you're going to write the equation into the ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 form. And you have to always remember that the right side of the equal sign has to equal 0. Well, it can either be the left or the right side, but either side has to equal 0 and the rest of the terms have to be on one side. Then you factor the left side using any factoring technique you like. So an example, 4x squared equals 20 minus 2x squared minus 7x. So the first rule is you have to rewrite it into the ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 form. So you are going to rewrite it into this first one right here. So we're going to put everything on the left side and then set it equal to 0. And then I decided to use the factoring technique of this X looking thing. So what I did, I put the 7 here, and then I put negative 20 times 6 here, and then I found two numbers that add up to 7 and then multiply it to negative 120. If you would like another video on how to factor like this, then let me know. So I factored that, and that got me these two solutions. Always remember, you are going to have two solutions. Or not always, but since there's two, then you have to write two solutions. The next way to solve is by completing the square. So if this first method cannot be factored, but the equation has a form of x squared plus bx equals c, you can get the solution, and that is by completing the square. So you're going to calculate the value of b over 2. So whatever number is in front of that x term, you are going to divide by 2. And then you are going to square that value, and then add that number to both sides of the equation. So, and then factor to find the solution. So an example, if we get x squared minus 14x equals negative 11, we find that the b value is negative 14 because that's the number in front of the x. Then we're going to divide by 2, so negative 14 over 2 is equal to negative 7. And then based on rule number 2, you're going to square that value, which gets us 49. And then you're going to add that number to both sides of the equation. So all you're going to do, you're going to get this b squared, or b over 2 squared. And then you're going to add it to this side and add it to this side. So what you're doing is basically just adding it here and adding it here. That's all it is. And then, you are just going to simplify it and keep simplifying it. And when you get to here, you can actually see this side you can factor, right? So this factors to this, but I'm going to leave the left side or the right side as it is. Then we're going to use the square root property. Remember, it always has to be plus or minus, so you have to write both of them. And then it gives you the equation of x equals 7 plus or minus square root of 38. Another way to solve a quadratic is with the quadratic formula. I used to memorize this with a song. It was like x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2, like something like that. That's how I memorized my quadratic formula. So when you have a quadratic equation that is in this form, then you can use the quadratic formula to solve for it. An example is 2x squared plus 4x minus 3 equals 2. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to move everything to the left side and then set that equal to 0. And then we're just going to plug whatever values are here into this equation. So this first term is going to be our A term, the second term is going to be our B, and then this is going to be our C. So you just plug and chug basically. And then when you plug it and you simplify it, this is what you are going to get. And lastly, we are going to talk about discriminants. So discriminants, which is also symbolized as just a D, is equal to b squared minus 4ac. And the discriminant determines the possible types of answers for quadratic equations and their graphed parabolas. So what that means is basically if the discriminant is greater than 0, that means there are going to be 2 solutions to that quadratic equation. If the discriminant is equal to 0, there is only 1 solution, and if the discriminant is less than 0, or a negative, there are going to be 0 solutions. So for example, if we talk about this equation right here, the discriminant will be b squared minus 4ac, which is 4 squared minus 4ac. And that will give you a positive number. And since positive numbers are always greater than 0, then that means there will be 2 solutions to the equation, which we can see here. Oops, I forgot to write a plus or minus, which we can see here there is 2 solutions. And minus 14 over 2. So yeah, that is my review on quadratic equations. Let me know if you have any more questions or need me to go over anything else. Thanks!